Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Kornfeld, editor and publisher of AcousticMusicScene.com, board member of Folk Alliance International and Northeast Regional Folk Alliance, and longtime president of the Folk Music Society of Huntington, an all-volunteer, nonprofit presenting organization based in Huntington, Long Island, New York, which is where I grew up and reside, and also where Harry Chapin lived with his family. In keeping with Harry's motto, when in doubt, do something, which is also the title of a recent documentary about the late singer-songwriter, social activist, and humanitarian, who would have turned 80 on December 7th. The Harry Chapin Foundation thought this would be a nice opportunity to chat with some folks who are putting those words into action. During the next hour or so, our guests and I will engage in what I hope will be an inspiring conversation about how each of us can make a difference in our lives, our communities, and our world. Before introducing each of our guests, let me just share a few personal reflections. Harry's music and his humanitarianism have been an inspiration to me for many years. I have been a fan of Harry's since the early 1970s. That's when I first saw him perform here in Huntington. Over the next decade, I saw him many times in concert, at social actions, and around town with his wife, Sandy, with whom I also served on a school district committee while I was just a high school student. Harry performed at my junior high school and did several benefit concerts at Huntington High School, from which I graduated with one of our guests tonight, Harry's daughter, Jamie Chapin Miller. In 1976, my dad coordinated Mo Udall's presidential primary campaign in the 3rd Congressional District in New York State, while Harry led the late congressman's winning delegate slate and was an active participant in that year's Democratic National Convention, which nominated Jimmy Carter for president. Following his election, and after some intense lobbying by Harry and others, President Carter formed a presidential commission on world hunger, on which Harry served. While studying abroad and working in the British Parliament, I was Harry's guest at what turned out to be his last concerts in London, England, in February of 1981. He was in top form, and I so looked forward to seeing him again that July in concert at Eisenhower Park here on Long Island. Tragically, Harry died in an auto accident while en route there. For many years since then, I have been actively involved in helping to promote an annual Just Wild About Harry tribute concert that takes place at that park on the very stage where Harry was to have performed that now bears his name, featuring many talented Long Island artists performing Harry's songs in their own unique ways. As much as I appreciated Harry Chapin as a singer-songwriter, however, who helped to form my love for folk and folk rock music, I also respected him so much for his activism, his community involvement, and his commitment to making this a better place to be. Our guests tonight, each in their own ways, share that commitment. They are ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary things to help make a difference. They will share with us, each of them and their organizations on which they are a part of, and what they have been doing. Let's welcome and introduce them for this evening's conversation. Joining us from the Harry Chapin Foundation is Harry's daughter and my former classmate, Jamie Chapin Miller, who was one of the 5 J's, as Harry and Sandy used to call their 5 children, each of whose names happen to start with the letter J. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Michael. It's great to be here.
Next is the former chair and longtime board member of Why Hunger, an organization that Harry co-founded with Bill Ayers as World Hunger Year back in 1975. Harry's daughter, Jen Chapin.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Jen. Good to see you. Our other guests tonight represent organizations that have received grants from the Harry Chapin Foundation. Chad Barker is the founder of an organization called The Giving Trees. Good evening, Chad.
Hi, Michael. It's nice to be here.
Joining us tonight from Tech for Troops is its president and CEO, Mark Casper. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And from Building Youth Around the World, an organization they co-founded, I'm delighted to welcome the father and son duo of Braden and Ian McCracken. Hi, guys.
Hi, Michael. Hello.
Thanks so much to each of you for joining us to discuss how individuals who care enough to get involved in a cause they believe in can really make a difference in the lives of others. Let's begin with Jamie. It's great to see you again, Jamie. It's been many years since we last roamed the halls of Huntington High School.
Yeah, we won't say how many years.
Well, I'm not going to say it, but perhaps we'll have a chance to do that again when we have our reunion next year. Anyway, before I ask you about some of the things that wonderful organizations and projects that the foundation has been supporting, I'm sure our viewers would like to know a little bit about your memories of your dad and the things that just stand out to you about him.
Well, my perspective is he was just my dad. We tended to get more attention when we went downtown than maybe other families, but from my perspective, he was my dad. He was big, he was alive, he was full of energy. There was always some activity or adventure or journey that we took, and his thing was, we're going to do it. You're going to enjoy it, and you're going to thank me for it. And almost always we did enjoy it. I mean, he really was a searcher for fun things, interesting things, and for learning opportunities.
Great. Well, your father was also a very civic-minded, and he believed in what is called participatory democracy, the idea that people ought not just vote every 2 or 4 years, but ought to really become active participants in society and in pushing for causes that they believe in, talking with their elected officials and the like, to speak up about issues. I'm right about that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to put it into just a few words, he kind of, in conversations with each of us, he said, you can be a giver or a taker in this world. And the examples that we had from both of our parents were that they were givers. They really believed that we had a responsibility and an obligation to do something important, to give back, to be a part of activities and hopefully change for the good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Harry connected with leaders, as I recall, on both sides of the aisle when he was pressing for certain issues and things to happen, particularly in Washington. For instance, when he was lobbying them and President Carter for the creation of a presidential commission on world hunger. I believe you were actually very involved with that at the time, and just wondered what you thought when that actually came to fruition.
It was a long time in coming with a lot of behind the scenes lobbying. And it just so happened that it was my junior year in college and I took the year off campus and I spent the fall semester in Washington, D.C. at the same time the commission was having some of its meetings. So luckily I was able to, I had kind of an in so I could go into the meetings and watch progress as it was happening. And Harry was very much a believer when he did causes or benefits for political candidates. He was doing it for the candidate. He wasn't doing it for the party. And he really believed in supporting those that were standing up for what Harry agreed to be the right side of certain issues. And it was great to see, all of these people around the presidential commission table from all walks of life, from corporations, the Democrats, the Republicans, and to try to bring together a coalition to come up with a plan and to take action on it.
Okay. And turning to the Harry Chapin Foundation itself, I believe it was formed, if I'm not mistaken, shortly after your dad died in 1981, and that you've been involved with it pretty much since its inception. I was wondering if you could give our viewers an idea of what the foundation is all about, its mission, uh, what the focus has been in terms of the types of organizations and projects that may receive grants from the organization, large or small, and what you see the focus as for the foundation going forward.
We're not, in comparison, we're not a large foundation. We have a fairly small amount of money. And so we really try to, when we grant to an organization, and our grants are usually no larger than, they tend to be about 5,000. They can be as large as 10,000. We want to invest in organizations where we can see they've got a far and a deep reach, that they're reaching as many people as possible. The areas that we give to are areas that both of my parents were very involved in the community that we lived in, both in Huntington, but the larger community as well. So we have continued in 3 program areas: arts and education, community education, and farming and agriculture. And we found that almost every grant recipient that we have gotten proposals from fit into one of those 3 areas and are in alignment to things that my parents believed in.
Great. As I mentioned, a couple of our guests tonight are grant recipients. What are the general criteria for applying for grants from the Harry Chapin Foundation? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, we have a wonderful website that's very nicely aligned in terms of what you have to do, how you put together a proposal. We do take the common application. And, we listen to the stories, and we have an executive director that's absolutely amazing. And she will reach out to each organization and really get a picture of who they are, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then give us both a written proposal, but also the feel that she's gotten from speaking to these organizations. And we really trust Leslie Ramey as being kind of hands-on and really a part of understanding how the organizations are making a difference in their community.
Great. And I think that the website for the foundation, for anyone who's interested, is harrychapinfoundation.org. That's where you can find out more information about the organization. And also, if you're a 501c3 nonprofit organization in the US, how you can go about applying for grants through it. Thank you, Jamie.
Absolutely.
Jen,
Thank you for bringing the word out.
Absolutely. Jen, turning to you. As many of our viewers know, you have kind of followed in your dad's footsteps, both as an artist with your own musical style and as a social activist. Like your folks, you are very socially engaged and focused on leading a life of purpose. Tell us about that.
Well, so much to say. Jamie and I also in our professional lives have been engaged in, certainly with community. Also, like Jamie has been a fundraiser and administrator for some excellent nonprofit organizations over the years, serving people who are marginalized in New York City and elsewhere. I'm also, as well as being an artist, as singer and songwriter and performing and touring artist, I'm a high school history teacher, and I teach global history in Brooklyn to 140 something teenagers. And it does feel very connected to the mission of Why Hunger, of Long Island Cares, and the Harry Chapin Foundation, as far as getting to the root causes and trying to work with kids to ask the why questions. At Why Hunger, we tend to emphasize that that food is a nutritious food is a human right, and try to shift the paradigm from humans thinking that this is just part of existence, that hunger has always been with us. Harry would always remind us that whether we're talking about 1980 or 2022, the world, even with all its stresses and crises and climate change, can still feed itself many times over. And one of our mentors, Francis Moore Lapay, would distill it in a different way, that hunger is not from a scarcity of food. It's ultimately a scarcity of democracy. And when people have fundamental human rights and the basic level of autonomy and control over their lives, they will feed themselves. That's how we have a species. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes,
I went
yes, and you moved into the
into-
next one, and you also segued right into the next one, which was that that why hunger has evolved quite a bit from its beginnings as World Hunger Year, and the focus may have shifted a bit as well. And I know that the organization is both involved with different types of approaches, from working with and supporting grassroots organizations on the ground doing things in their own localities, to working on trying to get legislation of importance passed in Washington and elsewhere. Wondering if you'd care to elaborate on the approaches that that Why Hunger is taking today.
Absolutely. I actually see it, I was born in 1971. Why Hunger was founded in 1975. So I've literally, I have a slightly different perspective than Jamie, who got to be in some of those discussions in Washington, and some of those formative moments where, for me, it was like the organization has been part of my entire life from when I was a toddler. And I don't, maybe it's that perspective, but I don't see us as really having shifted, or, I mean, we've evolved as far as, I think, our professionalism and our laser focus on the mission. But to me, it feels like we're just better more than different.
Okay.
That the core, the core question that Harry asked, of demanding that, as informed citizens, as you so eloquently said in the intro, we are asked to be, the privilege of living in this wonderful dynamic country is to be engaged citizens, the rights and responsibilities of that, and that we have to ask why hunger. And Harry used to say that hunger is an obscenity, and hunger in America is the ultimate obscenity. And of course, at the time he died, we were we were not in such a catastrophic state as far as income inequality, as far as, most people who are, for instance, getting supplementary nutrition assistance program or food stamps from the government, or getting assistance, are working people. So we've come to accept a reality where people could be working full time, or as many hours as they can lobby for, and not be able to support their families with basic food and housing, let alone a middle class lifestyle. And so what we did at the beginning, Why Hunger, and what we do now, is question that, and really look at issues of justice. And I think we've gotten more incisive as far as our analysis of looking at racism, looking at sexism, looking at the intersection of climate change and immigration and nutrition, and how many people in this country who are malnourished might be technically obese, but looking at the core problems in our food system. But we, I think, from the beginning, have been aware that there's a model of charity, philanthropy, that says, oh, we're going to save you. We have the answers. Listen to us and we'll help you feed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
On the contrary, Why Hunger is always, and that's why we've partnered with Long Island Cares, with the Harry Chapin Foundation. there's so much excellent, amazing, creative stuff happening at the grassroots. So we amplify those solutions, connect those organizations, whether they're in Mali or Mississippi or Mexico. We connect them with each other. We give technical support. We give funding. We give media training. And we help create a movement for food justice.
Great. It's great that this is an organization that sees the interconnection between all these issues. One final question for you. I remember dating back to the mid-'70s when World Hunger Year was first established by your dad and Bill Ayers, that there were annual hungerthons. Are they still going on? And if so, how can
Oh,
people donate?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to ask because you should have it driven into your brain. People can log on. We always have I mean, if you go to whyhunger.org, you could certainly get the scoop there. Whyhunger, WHYHUNGER.org, but also hungerthon.org. In that way, as again, we've still core. That was one of the founding things that that World Hunger did, was have the Hungerthon, which was, a 24-hour radiothon of information and dialogue with some fundraising on the side. We still do that, but not just on one radio station. We were on WNEW in the early years. Now we're on multiple stations in Sirius XM, WN, Kenton Winds, like all over the radio with so many partnerships. And partnerships has always been our key value. And why, because that's where the solutions are. That's where the energy is. That's where the live hearts, live heads, live minds that my dad spoke of, where they reside.
That's great.
Hungerthon.org.
I remember, I knew that it was still going on, but wanted to give you an opportunity to let our audience know that. But I remember going to some recordings of Hungerthon when the late Pete Fornatel was helping with it. So thanks again for that. And folks, you can all support Why Hunger by going to whyhunger.org or hungerthon.org, as Jen said.
Yeah, and one of the nice things, like I just today got an email recognizing I'm part of Harry's Giving Circle. Organizations, every organization really benefits from, even if it's $5 a month from, and this could be all of you listening have your favorite local groups. Give them a monthly donation because that helps them plan and budget and know the reliability of the funding sources. So I'm a member of Harry's Giving Circle. So you can join that at Why Hunger, make your own little contribution, make it part of your family budgeting. And it doesn't need to be big, but when it's consistent, that's helpful.
Thanks again, Jen. And now we're going to turn to some folks who have been actively involved in really doing things that matter for their communities and for others. Our next guest is Chad Barker. Before we learn about the wonderful work that you are doing, Chad, with the Giving Trees, I understand that you have some connections to Harry and the Chapin family. Can you tell us about those and how Harry helped to inspire you to want to make a difference in people's lives?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I met Harry when I was 7 or 8 years old. I grew up in Southern California, and my parents played Greatest Stories Live over and over again. And so I loved that album. Flowers Are Red was my favorite song. And when Harry played at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, we went up and saw him perform. And, he'd sign his autographs afterward for anyone he would sign them for anyone, but he gave his best signatures for people that purchased his merch so that more money was going to his causes. And we waited in line. And when I got up there, he looked at me and said, "You look like my mailman." And of course, being 7 years old, being impressionable, that really stuck. And I ended up writing to him, and next time he was in Los Angeles, we went and saw him again, and we kind of wormed our way backstage. And from that point forward, anytime Harry was on the West Coast, I would go and see him perform, and it was always such a special time for us. And then when Harry was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and had the amazing gathering at Carnegie Hall, I was able to join for that and reconnect with the Chapin family. So warms my heart that we still stay connected to this day.
He's a brother.
Well, Chad, can you tell us a little bit about the Giving Trees and what your impetus was for starting it?
Yeah, so the Giving Trees is a family tradition that my wife and I and our two teenagers started back in 2020. Essentially what we do is we give away a Christmas tree and lights and stands and ornaments and some other decorations to families that need a little bit of a boost during the holiday season. We don't, doesn't matter what somebody's background is. We have, whether they're tree recipients or donors or volunteers, it's really an opportunity to bring everyone together to spread some extra joy. And that first year set out to donate 5 to 10 trees. And I thought it'd just be fun, right? It was November of 2020. So pandemic was doing its thing. And I just put it out on social media and said, hey, is anybody interested in kicking in a few bucks? So we'd like to go out and donate 5 to 10 trees. And the reception was overwhelming. And so it's like, all right, well, we got more donations. We can give away more trees, and, did more shopping for ornaments and lights. And, I raided every Dollar Tree in the Pacific Northwest to get stuff for the gift bags. And by the end of that first season in 2020, we had given away 117 trees. We had delivered them to individuals around Greater Portland area. And then last year, we decided, well, let's do it again. And when it was all said and done, we had delivered 721 trees, again, with the lights and stand and ornaments, because we really wanted to provide something to somebody that they wouldn't need anything else. They wouldn't say, okay, well, we got a tree, but now we got to get a stand, or we got to get lights or ornaments or whatever. Really wanted to give them a gift that would stand on its own, quite literally. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up delivering 721 trees last year, started expanding and delivering to other states, which kind of came about organically. This year, we just kicked off delivering trees, started yesterday. And in fact, right before this, I was rushing home because my daughter and I went and delivered a tree, which was, it's always so fun going out and doing. And, but we're going to deliver over 1,500 trees. We're hitting as many states as we can. We're also going to deliver some trees in other countries. So we'll deliver a couple trees in Paraguay and Nigeria and Pakistan and Australia and England and Bosnia, Norway. It's wild. It's a lot of fun. And, this was just one of those things that I had this idea. I was sitting there in November of 2020 having a root beer float with one of my best friends here in Portland. And that was the first time I had said out loud, I want to do this. It's been a rough year. But I'm going to set the bar low. Let's do like 5 trees. Mm. And so this wasn't this idea for doing something massive. This was, let's just do something nice for somebody. And it really started to gain momentum. If you'd told me right then, if my buddy Gabe had said, hey, Chad, this is going to, 2 years from now, you're going to be delivering all over the world. I said, I probably wouldn't have started with those first 5 trees. You know how that sort of thing goes. But I love it. I really do. It's a blast. We've turned it into a 501c3 nonprofit. It's all volunteer. I have my day job, but they're really supportive of what I do. So I'm grateful to work for a company that supports that. And we have a blast. It's a lot. This weekend we delivered 400 trees between yesterday and today. We have a massive team. We call our delivery volunteers our reindeer. So we had a lot of people cruising by our house today, loading up with trees and stands, and we have 1,000 trees parked in our backyard right now. So,
well, let's let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
They say a picture, tells 1,000 words. Video is even better, and I think we have a video that shows some things that you did that are also pretty impressive. That was taken earlier this month. If we can play that video.
500 trees looks like. Hello, we're out at Leaf Farms. By we, I mean I'm out at Leaf Farms. I've got a stacked 500 trees that one of our tree farm partners dropped off here at Leaf Farms, which is our primary tree farm and great partner for the last 3 years. We couldn't have done it without them. And we love Leaf Farms. Can't say enough great things about them. Definitely come here for all your pumpkins and Christmas trees and other great stuff throughout the year. So my task this morning in the relatively cold wind, but I'll get some body heat going soon, is to stack these trees up over there by that fence. That's our co-pilot. Wonder if we could get John Deere to sponsor us. Maybe they want to help underwrite some trees for families that can't get them otherwise. Leaf Farms is really amazing. It's in Tualatin, Oregon, about half hour south of Portland. I've got my Red Bull, gives you wings. Hopefully it'll give me wings. Hopefully I can open it with my gloves on. I'm not sure about that. Nope, not gonna happen. Red Bull's also not a sponsor. Maybe Red Bull would be a sponsor, because that's certainly been a big part of how I've moved through this project. Gives me a little extra fuel. I don't drink coffee anymore. I'm not saying Red Bull's great for you. I'm hoping it's gonna give me wings. Last couple of years, I've worried about getting over my skis on this project. This year, I thought to myself, forget the skis, I'm just gonna take off, right? Just drop the skis, kind of going off the ski ramp. Skis off, hoping I'll fly. I need the wings, I need the funding. The funding is the wind beneath my wings. Not really, but it helps. I really shouldn't delay this much longer, because I do have a day job that I should get to, but I gotta stack these trees. 500 trees, let's see what it looks like in the end. All right, let's stack some trees. Bend with the knees, they say. Bend with the knees. I didn't do that. Sorry, Taylor. See you soon. Forgot my gloves. You know what they say? No gloves, no loves.
Yeah, I will.
Let's finish this up.
Wow, Chad, that's incredible. How long did it take you to stack all those trees, and how's your back holding up?
Yeah, well, I said, I referenced my good friend Taylor, who started out as my chiropractor, and he's still my chiropractor, but became my best friend because my back has needed a lot of help over the years. If I'd done it straight, it would have taken me 90 minutes, but I was clearly, messing around plenty. It took a couple of hours.
Okay. Well, How can people help if they'd like to with your project?
Well, you know, donations are
Where
always
can they go to
helpful.
learn more about where can they go to learn more about the Giving Tree?
Yeah, so our website is gtrees.org, gtrees.org. Uh, you know, uh, we love getting people involved that want to help deliver. So people here in Portland, it's easy. They drive by our house, they pick up trees, they get the gift bags and the stands, and they go out and they deliver to a route that we plan for them. But the way we deliver in other parts of the country and other parts of the world are if somebody wants to make a delivery in their local area, uh, we can match them up with families that are in need. A lot of times people will help us identify those families and we cover the cost. They need to go do the shopping because it's hard for us to do the shopping in remote areas. But it's a lot of fun. We partner with social services organizations and schools to identify families. Jen talked about partnerships being key, and that's very much the case for us as well. We want to be an ingredient in people's holidays, right? A Christmas tree is not a must have, right? If somebody's trying to decide, are they going to be able to put food on their table? They should be spending it on food, not a Christmas tree. And yet, we see a Christmas tree as an opportunity um, to bring some joy into their home and provide something that is somewhat of a luxury. And so for us, we want to also be an ingredient with schools, especially the social workers and other nonprofits that are looking for ways that they can serve their stakeholders, their clients, families that they connect with. So we love to do that because they're like, oh, great, we're doing food baskets. Can we also provide trees? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Right.
Great.
And
Okay,
so we love doing those types of partnerships. So if somebody wants to help deliver a tree, reach out. We'd love to bring you into the fold.
great. Well, thanks for being with us, Chad, and thanks for what you're doing to help brighten people's lives during this season.
Thanks for having me.
Joining us next is Mark Casper from Tech for Troops. Tech for Troops recently received a grant from the Harry Chapin Foundation for the work that you do. You also shared with us a very short video that I think beautifully demonstrates the organization's mission. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll chat a bit.
When I got out of the military, I had a hard time translating my military experience into the civilian world. I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for my wife, I probably would have been that homeless or impoverished vet. But it can be easier with the right support. I'm Mark Casper, and I'm the Executive Director of Tech for Troops. In today's world, you have to have a computer to be able to apply for jobs. Our mission is to empower veterans in need with computers and training to get back in the workforce.
Here at Tech for Troops, we're here to push you forward to get you back to where you want to be in life. When the veterans come in, I teach them everything you could think of that's done with a computer. I want them to feel that this is a tool that's going to help them get their life back.
I went into a kind of a deep depression. Eventually, I lost my job and I was out on the street. The computer was able to connect me to the web, and I was able to start putting resumes out. And you have to have these small building blocks to get from point A to point B. I'm not worried about employment anymore.
The need is great, and we want to be able to support our veterans across the nation.
Well, great. Mark, how long have you been involved with Tech for Troops, and what spurred your interest in it?
Well, Michael, thank you for having me. And really, I want to say first, thank you for the grant that we received from the Chapin Foundation to Jen and Jamie. It's been amazing. And I promise you, we put it to good use. What spurred me was I was asked to be on the board of directors, and that was in December of 2015. So when I walked in the door to take the tour for Tech for Troops, I knew I was home. I mean, quite literally, my head exploded, and I knew that this was my mission in life, that not just being a Marine was good enough, not just being a family man was good enough, but being someone who gives back and serves the community as a whole. And this is for the nation as a whole. And that's, I mean, literally, that's how it happened. I was asked to be on the board. I came in, and then I was asked to be the executive director, and I literally quit my job and then came to work at Tech for Troops.
Oh, okay. Are you seeing an increased demand for the services and technology that you provide?
The demand has been skyrocketing. So ever since COVID, I use this analogy. We all saw well, it's not an analogy, it's a story. When we saw the kids in high school and in middle school and elementary school didn't have computers, and all the school districts went crazy buying computers, all the companies sent their people home with their computers. Tech for Troops lost a lot there. We didn't get as many donations, but as well, the need from the veterans skyrocketed because the VA closed down, doctors and hospitals closed down, and they couldn't telehealth. So there was a lot of medical issues going on in our veteran community. So yeah, ever since that time frame, and the VA still requires telehealth, that there's more veterans from across the nation reaching out, looking for a computer that we can provide to them.
Okay. Am I right in thinking that this is much more than just about job training and marketable skills, but also about helping veterans to reconnect with the world at large and to build their self-confidence?
Absolutely. Digital inclusion is massive in today's world. You might be able to potentially, probably not, honestly, create a resume or apply for a job on a phone or to stay in touch with family and friends. It's not as easy as what people think it is. If you have a nice screen in front of you, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, you're able to stay in touch. You're able to telehealth. Computers that go out from Tech for Troops have cameras, and that means they are video capable, which means they're able to telehealth, and they're able to have tele interviews as well. So as they're applying for jobs and creating those resumes, going online and making it more accessible to these veterans and their families. So we support the kids as well, K through 12. If there's somebody who's in need and has a child that needs a computer so they can do their schoolwork, we want to be able to take care of that as well for them. And then on top of all of that, when we get all of this equipment in that we do, we also recycle, as was said on the video. We've recycled a tremendous amount, and we do it the right way. We use a R2 certified recycling company, which means they don't let it go to the landfill. They shred it and they reuse it. So it's that circular economy. It comes out of the ground, it's created into something, goes back around, but as they don't have to go to the ground again, they literally can come back in and use that gold and the silver and the tungsten and the light steel for something else.
That's great. You got my next question was about that environmental sense of things. So you answered that one. So I'm going to go to another one. You also mentioned there the idea of staying in touch or keeping in touch. And I'm just wondering if you're also able to stay in touch with your clients to find out how they're progressing.
Absolutely, we do. So we send out quarterly surveys. So as the veterans receive a computer, they're able to, excuse me, as veterans receive the computer, they're able to use their QR code that we provide them for two different things. One is for lifetime warranty. So if a veteran is 35 years old, gets a computer from us, they have a lifetime warranty. That's their life, not the computer's life. We don't want them to go to Best Buy. We want to be able to take care of them and repair their computer for them if something happens to it. So that way we have that continuity of computer and digital inclusion. As well, of course, being able to reach out to your friends and family via computer it's life-saving. Actually, we actually started a gaming program here at Tech for Troops where it's technology, and what they do is my game master, his name is Jason, he literally gets online, and in this community of veterans, they race. They do like the circular NASCAR and off-road type stuff, and they have rigs and game. I mean, it's all crazy cool stuff, and they talk. And Jason set it up to where this week over Thanksgiving, which is a huge number of suicides that happen in the veteran community because they're alone, they reach out and they're able to talk to him, and he can say, hey buddy, I've been there, you need to call the suicide hotline, and then when you're done with that, call me back and let me know what's going on. Because in our country today, 22 vets a day commit suicide, and that's just that one, I could use words that I shouldn't use online right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mark, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Our audience can learn more about Tech for Troops and support its efforts by logging on to techfortroops.org.
Absolutely.
Our final guests this evening are Braden and Ian McCracken. Welcome again, guys. We have a wonderful video featuring Braden that tells the story of how building youth around the world got its start. Let's watch that and then chat at the other end.
The biggest thing for me is just interacting with the people on the ground and seeing how something we do can impact a life and how it can really change their course for the better. Building Youth Around the World actually started out as my Eagle Scout project. My father had a friend from the Philippines, and he was in contact with us asking if we could help get some school supplies to a local village. As we just kind of talked with him, it progressed into, we could raise funds here in Utah and get supplies and then go and visit this school. And that kept going and evolving until we were doing upwards of 20 to 30 projects a year. Building Youth Around the World has 3 main parts. The first one is educational needs for kids 0 to 18. Focusing on anything from basic school supplies, paper and pencils, to getting enrolled in schools and making sure they have educational help to get them started in life.
Yep.
The second part is medical needs. So that's anything from hygiene kits to life-saving surgeries. And then the third is leadership development, and that's for those who volunteer in our organization to make sure that they can see the world as it is and how they can impact it to make it a better place. Most of the people in the world live on less than $1 a day. Things like running water, electricity, food on the table, things that we just take for granted aren't in most places in the world. As we volunteer and donate to the cause, those things become a reality for people that don't have them. We've been working with the Navajo Nation tribe for 5 to 10 years now. A lot of the homes down there and the families don't have basic necessities such as running water and electricity. And we actually go down there several times a year. We work with local food banks down there and visit those families in their home. For some people, they have a lot, and other people, they have close to nothing. Simple things like volunteering a few hours to put together hygiene kits, or even a donation to help put somebody through school can really change that for people. And that's just our mission, to see through another person's eyes and see how the world is and how we can make it a better place.
Braden, I have to tell you, that is really impressive. I'm also very impressed by something else. I understand that you became an Eagle Scout at the ripe old age of 12. Now, very few Boy Scouts ever even attain the rank of Eagle Scout, let alone at such a young age. And as an Eagle Scout myself, I know the kind of dedication and commitment that takes to do that. So kudos to you on that. And I also know the kind of values that Scouting instills. How did the values that you learned through Scouting, and in particular through this project, inspire you to continue on and to then create this bigger project, this foundation?
Yeah, I think with Boy Scouts, it instilled in me a couple of different values that have really helped with building youth around the world. The first is teamwork, cooperation with others. And then the other ones, like integrity and kindness, have really helped shape me and drive me to helping to want to help others and identifying those needs. And I think the next thing that's helped me is actually my dad, because he has been a great team member in this, in driving and saying, you know, we can do more, we can help more, there's greater need in the community. And as we started that one project back in 2009 for my Eagle project. It's grown so tremendously, and that's in large part due to the compassion and kindness of other people and identifying needs and filling those needs. So I definitely, I love the Chapin saying of when in doubt, do something. That's something that we both strive to live by, is find the need and fill that need.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned your dad, and I want to ask him something too. What did you think when your son approached you with this idea about creating this foundation and helping youth around the world?
Oh, I thought he was crazy. No, just kidding. I thought he was wonderful. My son has always been larger than life. You know, when you're 12 years old and, you know, there are so many good projects out there, and he said that he wanted to do something that would make a difference for the long term, like long haul, his entire life. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's gotten so big. And I do have to say, we've had so many wonderful things that we do. Braden mentioned, you know, 10, 20, 30 projects every year we do. And that's a reality. The Harry Chapin Foundation, we were able to combine with them this year to purchase about 15,000 pounds of food and deliver it to the Navajo Nation for 145 families. And these were Thanksgiving box projects, if you will, these boxes that should last them about a month to 2 months. And so teaming up, Braden's really good with teaming up. The Harry Chapin Foundation, Building Youth Around the World, doing something so extraordinary that impact people so much. And, you know, that's just Braden's life, doing good for people. And I'm glad to be a little part of it with him.
Oh, great. Braden, how do you select the projects that you do each year?
It all starts with people we know on the ground that identify those key needs. We love projects that impact a lot of people and can continue to impact people for their lifetimes. So we focus a lot on life-saving medical needs. That can be anything from a cleft palate surgery to helping them with education, getting kids in schools where they wouldn't be otherwise. And then, of course, our last one is focused more on the here and now of making sure that these kids have food and have the ability to be healthy and well.
Okay. And Ian, are there any geographical considerations that you take into account in terms of the projects that you undertake?
Well, Braden was really smart. So he said the name of the foundation is Building Youth Around the World. So our constraints are the world. So it's been nice. An example of what Braden's accomplished this year so far, we just finished building our 7th school in Mali, West Africa. Jen mentioned she did some work in Mali. We just finished building our 2nd pharmacy in Liberia. We have 26 students that we're helping through college all over the world. We have an orphanage in Mexico with 105 kids that we support on a daily basis. I mean, it's pretty big. So the constraints is really nothing. It's where the need is, and we take it on.
And it really is thanks to donations and grants from people on the ground, but also like the Chapin Foundation, helping us be able to reach this wide audience around the world.
Okay, well, one final question for you. Any future plans or vision for the foundation?
You know, I'd love to see it continue to grow and grow. We love the small grassroots, but it's awesome seeing how our impact of Building Youth Around the World can help more and more kids around the globe. So as long as we have the support and the volunteers, I'd love to see it grow and grow.
Well, great. Well, buildyouth.org is your website, and we're going to put it up on the screen so that people can check it out and learn more about the amazing work that you've been doing and lend their support as well, because I know you can use more support. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, I should note that in recognition of what would have been Harry Chapin's 80th birthday on December 7th, the Chapin family is planning some special events to celebrate Harry's life. Please keep tuned to Facebook in the coming days for announcements from Jason Chapin and others about some of these upcoming events. And Jen, I understand there's also going to be a very special Chapin family concert coming up in January here on Long Island. Would you like to say a few words about that?
Yes, it's in Patchogue at the Patchogue Performing Arts Theater. And it's a really wonderful venue. It seats about 1,200 people. I understand tickets are going fast because I just ran into the executive director at the opening of the Long Island Music Hall of Fame in Stony Brook. So this is a real back to our roots, and Sandy's home, where we set up our sense of being involved with the community. So it's January 28th, Saturday night. You can, I put it on my website, jenchapin.com. There's a link to the tickets, and you can also just Google it. It's on Facebook all around. Tom has it on his website as well, and his Facebook. January 28th. Thanks. So I should specify we're performing. It'll probably be about half Harry songs and half taking the legacy forward. So it'll be my trio, Tom Chapin and Steve Chapin, who performs with John Wallace and Howard Fields of the original Harry Chapin Band, or the well-known Harry Chapin Band. And also my beautiful cousins, Abigail and Lily, who perform as the Chapin Sisters. So we'll all be playing our renditions of Harry songs and some of our own that connect to the family legacy.
Thanks, Jen. Having been to several previous Chapin family shows, I'm sure this one will also be wonderful. So if you're on Long Island, you should definitely go. I want to again thank all of our guests for participating in this, what I think was a very lively and informative conversation tonight. And all of you viewers who've been watching either the live stream or later on, because this is going to stay up on Facebook and YouTube. But just before signing off, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there's a Facebook group called Stranger with the Melodies that features Scott Sivikoff, who does some fine renditions of Harry's songs just about every Sunday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern. Tonight, he kindly pushed back the start time of his live performance for our live chat. So check out the Stranger with the Melodies group on Facebook and enjoy Scott's performances as well. And now, I mentioned earlier the documentary about Harry, When in Doubt, Do Something. We'd like to thank the producers of the movie and share a clip from it for you right now.
But I'm just a high school student, and I really don't see what I can do by myself to help this.
Ironically enough, I'm I guess a third level rock star. I mean, you know, way under the Beatles or the Eagles or whatever. But because I have been committed to this issue, and because I've not just raised money through benefits, but been there in Washington day in, day out at times when there's key things coming up, and an awful lot of senators and congressmen don't know who Harry Chapin is. Because I've been there, we were able to write up a resolution, lobby it through Congress, calling for a complete reevaluation of American food and hunger policy. I could give you example after example after example of individuals with no power at all, but because they were committed, had a dramatic impact on their world. Ironically enough, probably the two most important human beings that ever lived had no giant political arms, no armies, no gigantic economic power. There was a fisherman from Galilee, and there was a crazy man who went from the slums of London back and forth to Germany, Jesus Christ and Karl Marx. You don't have to believe in either system to realize that these people were tremendously potent because of the power of their ideas and the power of their commitment. I could tell you that I get asked a lot of times how I can change the world. I've also been asked a lot of times how I can be a rock and roll singer. And do you see what's on the end of my fingers? calluses. And what that means is if you're willing to play the guitar night in, night out for audiences of 3 people when you're coming up and finding that even your mother says it doesn't sound very good, the point is very simple. If you care enough, you can have an impact, finally. If you care enough, you can have an impact on your world. And I think the thing that makes all of us want to be alive is to matter. And the way you matter is care enough about something so you keep doing it. So all I would say is that if you're serious about becoming a rock and roll star or doing something about hunger, all you have to do is get in the process of dealing with it. Within an hour of discussion or a couple of weeks of reading some books, you would know 50 to 100 things that could be effective that you could do. The question is whether you're serious enough, care enough to have an impact, and as a matter of fact, whether you care enough about your own life, whether you care enough about your own life to make it matter. I would hate to be 75 years old, and it's one of the things that arms me, and say, if only I had, I wish I had, I wonder what my life meant. My credo, which might be interesting for you to think about, is when in doubt, do something. Because in the long run, we're not sure about a prior life or an afterlife. We're all hoping for that. But what we can do is maximize what we have in this brief flicker of time in the infinity and try to milk that and be hungry in a different kind of way, hungry for experience, hungry for meaning. And I think you as a high school student could start. I wish I could give you a glib answer. What we're talking about is finding a process for your life that matters, and you can be terribly, terribly effective if you want to be.